Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Series 8 of the Climate Pioneers Show. You should know by now that every series we focus on a different topic, and we didn't think there was any better way to kick off 2025 and our first series of the year than by speaking to a series of some of the UK's expert climate investors and understanding what their view on the market in 2024 was, what their predictions are for 2025, and the technologies that they are most excited about investing in this year. I will also be asking them for their advice for any founders that are looking to raise this year. So if that's you, then make sure you're listening. Today, for episode number 5, I am joined by Dr. Terhi Vapola, founder and managing partner of Greencode Ventures. Based in Helsinki, Greencode invest in digital-first early-stage startups across Europe who are focused on the green transition, with a particular interest in energy, mobility, and the built environment. Terhi, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. It's super exciting to be here today. So thanks.
Excellent.
Looking forward to our conversation.
Likewise. So I gave a little bit of an intro there to the fund, but are you happy to give us a little bit more context around Greencode Ventures? You know, how long have you been established, and a little bit more around your thesis?
So for me, one of the big issues about the climate tech as such is that we have so many, like there's no one silver bullet, but you need different kinds of solutions. And the emphasis has been a lot in the climate tech specialist to focus on those big, let's make transformational impact, let's build something big, which requires first of a kind, heavy investments, lots of capital. And most of those things take a lot of time to build. And also the corporates, many of them have now made their kind of investment decisions on net zero and are executing those. But again, maybe the timeline, what we are looking at is like a 20, 30, 40, or even 50. Mm-hmm. So the question I wanted to ask, and we wanted to ask, was related to what can we do now? Right. So what are those solutions which we could bring already now when we are still not there, but we are still in the transition phase, and looking at the capabilities which we can scale fast so that we can drive the impact into the market very quickly. And that led us to focus on digital first. So mainly we are looking at solutions related to energy efficiency, building up the optimization, building up the smarter ways of using resources, and bringing that, you could almost say, like power of AI into the context, so that we could be able to, make anything we can do right now to make any impact.
I love that. Okay, so these sort of digital first, asset light solutions that are quickly implementable and can reduce emissions now, today, rather than longer term solutions. Amazing. And yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of focus put on these first of a kind, large, very asset heavy, deep tech solutions as being the ones that are going to have the biggest impact, and potentially they will long term. But there's a lot around the carbon emissions that we save today because of feedback loops will have a great, almost more important, right?
Exactly. And also many of those projects require some you could say, acceleration. So let's put, for example, the example out of our portfolio, supercritical. Yes. So looking at the solution, which is purely software related, so it's a marketplace. But what they can do, so they basically are a marketplace for carbon removal. And of course, the removal itself will require hardware, so you need the build-up of that. But one of the challenges of the build-up itself is that all of those require capital to build. And in order to make your project bankable so that you can build your solution, which is then removing the carbon out of the atmosphere, you require some kind of financing or to be arranged. And most of the times you need somebody to actually commit into off-taking that so that you make it bankable, and providing that kind of capability, what the supercritical are doing. So bringing that capability of the software platform, which is on the marketplace, you can really drive the acceleration of the take-up of those projects as well on a concrete, you could say, hardware-based solutions to be built. So those are kind of things which we like doing.
Yeah, I love that. So those like facilitators and enablers to drive and accelerate other solutions. Yeah. And exactly. And how did you find 2024 from an investment perspective, and looking at kind of climate tech from a broader lens? How did you find the year to be?
So I think we started to be maturing quite well. So I think there are like two perspectives to that. So obviously the last year was the hottest year ever. So we did pass the 1.5 degrees already. So I think we are in the phase of kind of realizing that we need to also not just think of mitigation, but we need to think of the adaptation solution. So we need both. So I think that was something which I think became very clear last year. We had the droughts, we had the wildfires, we still have the wildfires, and we have the floods. So raining in Australia right now, heaviest rain ever, I guess. So you have this kind of which have become clear to everybody. So I think that climate adaptation is one of the things we saw very much last year. And then also, I think the discussion among the VCs also like, okay, there are quite a few like industry players now looking at the climate tech. So is the market starting to be at the like mature state? But then at the same time, also like almost like you read this like a rest in peace climate tech type of writings, and then at the same time you also know that we are so short of the investment, which is really fundamentally needed. So like McKinsey figures, we should be going into like 9 trillion annual investment levels. So we are like a tiny drop on that right now. So I think there are like this kind of interesting kind of revolutions which are kind of going on in the, you would say, sentiment as well, and then also finding those solutions where you can drive the impact happen.
Yeah, fascinating. And were there any companies that performed particularly well last year from your portfolio that you think are particularly notable? Who had a great year, and why do you think they had a great year?
I think quite a few of our portfolio companies had a very great year. So maybe to pick one, the company called LiveEO from Germany, focusing on satellite tech, basically using the satellite data to look at the impact of vegetation on the infrastructure, like, for example, railway lines, whether the trees will fall because the more severe storms are coming, and whether it is safe to send your trains out there, or looking at the electricity grid and making sure that it doesn't go down. And most recently, they also added EUDR, so deforestation regulation monitoring capability. So basically, for those brands which are building on areas like palm oil or some of those cocoa or something, where you need to know where you are sourcing it from in order to make sure that it's sustainable. You're not cutting the rainforest for it. With this kind of satellite tech solution, you can basically see anything at any time, and really with the time series be able to measure that this has been sustainably sourced, and you can verify and guarantee it. And because of the regulation, even though I'm not a strong believer of that regulation should be the main driver, but in this case, it really did work really well. So the traction and the growth of especially this latter solution was tremendous last year because of the absolute need to fulfill those requirements.
Amazing. Cool. And in terms of this year and 2025 and how you're starting to see it develop, what are your predictions as to how the market for climate investment will perform this year? I mean, I know we all wish we had if you actually could answer the question, it'd be fantastic.
I think that also kind of is a topic which you kind of avoid talking about the geopolitics these days. So I think, of course, what happens across the pond will have an impact on us and our ecosystem as well. So I think one of the things which I think is paramount for climate tech. So this is the year of proving that you not only provide benefits for the climate, but you actually bring solutions which are so valuable that regardless of whether you believe in the climate change or not, you still can prove that you provide the top line or bottom line value. And bringing those solutions which can drive the business and the capabilities of those financial requirements at the same time as bringing the solution which are greener. I think this is the year of the watershed. So we really go away from the green premium and we focus on bringing a solution which is a double win.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what parts of the market? I mean, you mentioned there a little bit around adaptation technology now needing to move to the forefront, given the fact that we're living with the effects of climate change today. There are other parts of the sector that you think have been undervalued or overlooked slightly that you think could have a good year in 2025, or perhaps those that aren't overlooked at all, but where, as you said, regulatory pressure might mean that there's broader adoption.
So what I find at the moment interesting related to, so we have the adaptation, but also mitigation. So the easiest way of mitigating, of course, is to avoid the CO2 ever going out of the pipe. So providing those capabilities which help the industrial heavy, because we need to focus on those sectors which have the biggest emitters today, so energy, mobility, built environment, and heavy industries. So finding those solutions where you can have, as I said, this double win. So provide the capability to have safe energy or safe resources in the processes. And with the help of solutions like digital twins, you can model those processes so much more efficiently than the operator manually can in the operating room do, and therefore be able to avoid some of that ever going into the air. So I think that area of using the AI into industrial solutions is something which I find very interesting. And then also satellite tech I already mentioned. I think there are many applications in that front, and so there are quite a few, and I think and the year will be interesting from multiple perspectives.
Yeah, I think it will. And what's important to you when making investments? So obviously, some of the things you've already mentioned there around, a strong value proposition that isn't just based on a green premium, but is also, achieving cost parity or is even cheaper than the incumbent. What else is important to you when you are making an investment? What makes an investable, not only idea and proposition, but also team?
Yeah, so I think team is, as most VCs would always say, the team is one of the most important factors for a company to become successful. So we basically look at any company the same way as any other VC. So I don't think we have something except for looking at also the impact. So what do they actually in their product market bring into the market? But if you look at the kind of a team, so I think the team needs to, you could almost say, conflicting capabilities. So they need to be visionary. So looking for something what the others don't yet see, looking forward. And then they need to be super good at executing and doing the practical stuff. So quite often those don't happen in the same person. So having that ambition, visionary, and the capability to turn the rocks around, basically. So if you hit the wall, you need to figure out the way to go around it, and kind of being that kind of a problem solver on a daily basis. So I think that we look at that quite a lot in the founder, and of course we normally like to work with the founder teams. So like you don't always have a person who is everything, but you can achieve so much more when you have a couple of people who take that drive together, and they have the same purpose and the mission to make things happen. And then of course we look at the market. So when you look at the team market fit or team problem fits, so do they actually have the experience? So looking at this kind of a like energy related or something which is actually quite techy. So then do they have a capability to build on that area? Do they have experience from the real customer problem? Have they experienced it themselves firsthand? How do they know that they're solving the right thing? So finding that product market fit, it helps a lot if you have like substance matter expertise on the topic. So that of course it's not sufficient alone. I think the two others are mandatory, but that really helps in terms of addressing the issue. Of course, we look at the size of the market. Of course, we do a lot of hypothesis building. So we also, because we are substance matter experts on the field ourselves also, so we kind of form our opinions of where the market might be going, and then look for the guys who are actually trying to solve those problems, what we see, so that we would be a little bit ahead of the others in addressing those.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And what stage are you normally investing at usually? And how mature are you expecting these businesses to be at point of investment?
So we normally go so-called early stage. So for us, that's seed to Series A plus. So
Okay.
typically what that means in our type of companies, which are digital first, is that they have already some customers. So the product, some kind of MVP is ready. It might not be perfect yet, of course. They have some part of the team ready, and they have some amount of revenue. The revenue doesn't need to be that large at this stage. So as we do multi-stage, so earlier it could be less, and later on, of course, we expect much more steady capabilities and also the traction in the sales front. But that kind of a assumption that at least somebody or few customers have a willingness to pay for the solution so that it gets market validation is something what we look for.
Yeah. And how light touch can that willingness to pay or that kind of demonstration of traction be? Does it have to be a paid pilot, like an offtake agreement or a letter of intent, or can it be slightly more ambiguous than that?
I think there's, in our case, because we do multi-stage, so there's always case by case, but we normally would like to see real money being paid. So not just a letter of intent, not just, and hopefully not just one customer, so that it's not just exception, but there is at least few who are actually willing to pay for the solution. So that what we would normally. But sometimes, of course, when we are looking at the question, so it could be that we have very strong conviction on the case, what we are building from, and then of course when we see the right team addressing the right problem in the right market, then we already know that they are solving the right thing, and from that perspective, we can have limited amount of pilot customers or something.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. And you mentioned a little bit around team and making sure that the team has that right split of visionary. So having at least somebody, and this won't always be in the same person, but somebody in the team that's capable of being visionary and somebody that can execute on that vision. So you're sort of typical like CEO to COO like type. What else is important to you? Because at seed stage, right, that founding team isn't going to be fully formed, I would imagine. So where there are gaps in that founding team, what's the minimum you would expect within a founding team at that point? And I suppose a sort of side question to that, I'm particularly interested in this kind of concept of founder-led sales. And if there isn't somebody that is a dedicated commercial or salesperson in the business, what are your views as an investor about when is the right time to bring that in, and how long should founders own that commercial process themselves?
I think the founders should own it quite long. So my assumption is that founders should be the ones who talk to the market and are solving the real issue. So I think it's perfectly fine that the team doesn't have like a additional head of sales or something like that. So I think it's actually a good sign that the founders are doing it themselves. So obviously, in order to scale, you need that. But even in that case, I do expect that the CEO, the founder CEO, is heavily involved, so that they remain on the touch, so that they know that the product market fit remains.
Yes.
So you might find it originally at a certain point, but it also evolves based on your development and the development of the market and the customer needs. So I think in the tech type of company, you as a CEO, you need to stay on the pulse, and the best way to do it is talk to the real customers and potential customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting. And how much does talent and talent mapping make up part of the due diligence process from an investment perspective? Because, you know, understanding, okay, for this proposition to grow, for this business to grow, these are the types of people that you'll need in the organization, and thinking about how easily accessible that talent is within the place that business is situated, etc. Is that, how much is talent due diligence something that kind of comes into that process for you?
We always do that. So as said, of course, we believe in the market and we pretty believe in the tech. but at the end, it is the people who do it and make it happen. And there are a lot of cases where there was the right market and the right product, but the team just couldn't kind of deliver on the opportunity, basically. So we look at the team quite carefully. So of course we try to look in the eye of the founder and kind of see what they're looking at, what's their ambition level, what's their, not just their capabilities, technical capabilities, but also what they really want to drive happen in this world. But then also the DD process after we do the term sheet, then we always do HR. We call it HRDD, but largely it is about trying to understand the founder team, the individuals, their strengths and weaknesses, their team dynamics, and then also looking at how to grow the core team. So what are the right additions on what phase? So we also use experts, expert help and advice on that to kind of work on it. And then, of course, we provide the capability and visibility to the founders themselves, so that they get that external advice. At the end, of course, it's one data point. So then, of course, it's not the absolute truth, never. But anyways, it provides the kind of a little bit more under the hood also on that front.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. And what advice would you give to founders that are looking to raise this year? So yeah, if there are people that are thinking about reaching out to you, pitching you for investment, what would you suggest that they start to prepare or think about in advance before reaching out to you?
So I think the key issue is really to be very clear on what problem you're solving. And so if you're too all over the place, that shows in our sector, because we are sector specialists. So if you say that you're going to do all this, we kind of think that you're not quite there yet. So being very clear on what's the beachhead, what's the first biggest problem we want to solve, and you can expand from there. But being clear on that. So what's the real need? What's the real solution? And then also looking at the traction. So I think showing is believing. So this is what we have done already. These are the things and the milestones we've done, and this is how we will go forward. So many times, if a company is, for example, too early for us, we love to follow the progress and see how they're doing. So kind of seeing that clear plan, what they want to do and how they want to do it, and then we can touch point on that and see kind of what they have learned along the way. So I think those kind of things, and also of course very basic, but when coming to a call, of course being very well prepared. So quite often the time is very short, so you have half an hour, and that includes Q&A, and we will ask lots of Q&A. So then kind of being able to deliver very precisely and very quickly what you actually do, so that we grasp it. We quite often, because we are sector specialists, we understand so macro trends or this kind of bigger picture. It probably is needed for some other VCs, but we want to understand what you actually do. So kind of getting there.
Yeah. So kind of cutting straight to it, getting straight to the point.
Yeah,
that's interesting because you've got this tension, I think, between you, like you said, you've got a very limited amount of time with this investor. You need to get to the detail very quickly about where you're adding value and, the aspects. However, quite a lot is often said around how narrative, strong storytelling and that charisma and the people, getting the people aspect across is sometimes really valued in the pitch. And so it's that dichotomy between how can you build as much of that in and make it an interesting and compelling narrative, but also get to the detail really quickly. And that's a real skill.
Exactly. It's exactly the problem. And especially if it's a new area. So then, of course, we are not as good experts as they are. They are the substance matter experts, even in the details. So of course, bringing us quickly into the point, but then seeing how it links into a bigger picture, of course, is crucial. So that the real kind of a scale of what we are discussing is clear.
Yeah, amazing. Interesting. Perfect. And how can people get in touch with you if they are interested in speaking to Greencode this year?
For us, very easy. So on our website, greencode.vc, you find our deal flow address, which is hello@greencode.vc, and you just send a pitch. So that's super easy. And we have the principle that we try to respond to all of the decks which come in. Just bear with us; we get lots of them, but then at the same time, really like reading them through, and one of them will be the diamond we're looking for. So really looking forward to seeing that.
Excellent. That's brilliant. Terhi, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you so much for sharing all of those insights with the founders that are listening. I really appreciate it.